Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for joining us today. Stick with us a couple of seconds and we will, well, I was going to say introduce you, but this woman needs no introduction. And we're back. And we're back.
We'll say Toby. You have to wait for me.
This is your thing.
You know how to talk.
Okay, go ahead.
I have to get my headset on.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to do Shelley's part of the script. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure that before the end of this video, if you like it, give us a thumbs up and like our video. YouTube likes it when you like our videos. You can also share it with your family, friends, neighbors, business associates, and social networks. And if you're not already a subscriber, this would be a good time to click that subscribe button. And once you see the notifications bell, click on the notifications bell. That way you will be notified when one of our videos is either uploaded or we start a live stream. I don't know why I'm so off track here. Okay, you.
Oh, housekeeping. Hello. It's just one of those days.
No, it's too many margaritas last night. That's
Okay, well, that's Cynthia's fault. So I want to thank our moderators, Jimmy Fast, Joe Lewicki, Jason Eunice, Brian Eagle, and Eric Schmidt for keeping our chat room safe and the conversation flowing. Today's chat with Cynthia will be followed by open Q&A, and you can ask Cynthia anything. She doesn't have to answer, but you can certainly ask.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep up here. We're not
not
live
ready
chat
for that.
yet. Okay. Back to full screen.
Oh boy,
Cynthia, we are not
it's a day
usually
here.
this much of an amateur operation, but one too many margaritas last night. Okay, so first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us again. We love having you as our guest, and we love having these conversations. So let's start with, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
As bad as us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm better now than I was this morning.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Certainly better than I was last night. And you're at home, and this time you're in your kitchen?
Yes, I decided to follow Fenn's advice and move my studio somewhere with better lighting.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd give this a try today, since it's during the day and not at night.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
It looks good. And I
see
saw
what it looks like.
saw Molly walking around there.
Yeah. Yeah, Molly, she might wander around.
Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing her. So let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this conversation. We know, of course, that you have recently returned from another trip up to search in Yellowstone, or in the Yellowstone area, not necessarily Yellowstone. But there was something I read, I think it was on your blog, that you were actually going for two reasons. One was to kind of recon, and the other was to walk in Fenn's footsteps. That's your quote. And so I'd like you to give us, tell us about your trip up there, and do it within the context of those two statements: searching for the treasure and walking in Fenn's footsteps.
So one of the things I have been doing, once I started going to West Yellowstone and actually doing a lot of the searching in the park, I actually tried to go to places that Fenn, we know for sure that Fenn visited either during his first 19 years with his family, or maybe even afterwards, which then took me to Cody. But I actually had been to Fishing Bridge multiple times early on in June, and that we all know Fenn's talked about camping at Fishing Bridge like the first 7 years, I think, when they went up there, and then after that they moved to West Yellowstone. So I had done quite a few of those searches earlier. So this search, I wanted to complete some of the ones that were more around West Yellowstone, outside of the park, and the Hebgen Lake. I was going to do Red Canyon, but then I ended up not having enough time, so I did skip that. And I bet, that's probably been searched out of the 350,000 searches over the last 8 years, that probably 50,000 of them have been in Red Canyon. So I really didn't feel like I was losing anything by giving that one up. I did do some other areas I hadn't been, which was downstream from Hebgen, Quake Lake, and the Madison. And then I did want to still go back into the park. I had a couple spots that I had just briefly been to that I hadn't really written much about, but I had to go finish them. I really wanted to see if there were any canyons at my features of the warm waters. I really do believe, you have to have your warm water, and then wherever that halts the canyon, you got to have that. Mm-hmm. And I actually wanted to go back. I went back into Sentinel Meadows, and I went back to Sentinel Creek where it merges with the fire hole. I had to see it one more time before I totally ruled that out. So I finished a lot of those things, and then my time was over in Yellowstone, and then I moved on to Cody.
And how did the visit to Cody go?
So Cody was the best part of this trip because the Cody area was totally new to me. I had never actually spent much time in Cody before, and I actually was there 2 nights. So had like 2 half days and a full day to search that area. And a couple of the, at least, I think I wrote a couple stories about this on my blog. One of the things I wanted to do was drive the Chief Joseph Scenic Byway, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. And it sort of goes from Cody northwest to the northeast entrance of Yellowstone, which is through Cook City, Montana, and ending at like Silvergate before you go into the park. And that was the first I had ever driven it. It was sort of a reconnaissance trip to me, and it was absolutely gorgeous. If anybody's ever up in that area, even if you don't want to search for the treasure there, it's a great, beautiful drive to see. So I completed that, and then I ended up going back to Cody for another I think a half day, and then that's when I was going to say stumbled upon, not literally, but I actually accidentally found something that was so compelling to my search, and this really isn't going to help anybody else. It was something I was sort of looking for, and I actually found something that worked, and it's like, holy crap. It was the day I had to leave, and I never really got to search it. So from there, then I went to Du Bois, Wyoming, which was on my schedule, which is the Wind River area of Wyoming. And I was so sure now that the thing that I found in Cody felt so right for me that I left. I never searched Du Bois. I actually went home the next day.
Before I turn this over to Shelley, for those of you in the chat room, make sure that if you have a question, not just a comment, but a question for Cynthia, precede your question with @Cynthia, so that we know as we're going through your list of questions, we can pick up on that. Okay?
Did you visit the Cody Museum while you were there?
No, I did not. I really didn't have enough time. I think the admission's about like $19 or $20 to go in, but it's good for 2 days. And I talked to the guy at the desk inside, and he said, you really do need the full 2 days. And I was looking at half a day, and it's like, no, I definitely will go back there. I will probably work out at Cody now the next time I go, or the next several times I go. And now I know I need 2 days just for the museum. So that'll be the next trip.
And when is the next trip?
I don't know. Not in August. I know for sure it's not August.
So there is a chance that you go back up there in September?
I would love to, but I have a very busy September, October with actually other things that are not Fenn related. So for me to make like a spur of the moment trip up there, I would actually have to come up with a specific warm water and a canyon that and clues that fit. I'm not just going to go up there like I normally do and just flit around and recon and do my own thing. The timing would be so short that I would have to have it really a special, specific spot to go to. And I don't know that I will have that yet.
You were going to ask about the 2006 film.
Yeah. So you mentioned last week, I believe, that the 2006 Fenn video that came out that was from the Cody Museum, the McCracken Research Center there, that it had given you some pause and had an effect on you regarding your solution. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, you're right. So because I was already looking at Cody, I saw this film the day I got home, and I used it as confirmation bias because Fenn talks about having, even when he was in the Air Force, he still had like a week, he could come home on leave for however long. And that one trip home, he always still went to Yellowstone. And he also talks about in this video, I don't know when it started, about going up there 4 times a year. So that confirmed to me that he loved that area, and he actually made many trips up there up until he did the video when he was 76 years old. Mm-hmm. So that part was really good. And for me, I mean, if you already don't have a spot up there, I would not use this video and say, oh my God, I have to leave New Mexico and go search Cody. I don't think the video is it's not really compelling enough for anybody to just all of a sudden drop where you're going, right, or drop where you were and then go up there. It just so happened that's where I had just come from. But one of the other things I wanted to tell you guys today, since I knew I was going to be on this show, I just rewatched that video again like an hour ago. And one of the things I noticed that I actually caught this time that I thought was interesting was he talked a lot about when he had his gallery in Santa Fe and the Western artists and painters that he really promoted and sold their artwork. Not once, and I really listened to this, I reread the transcript, not once does he mention Eric Sloane. And I thought, I don't know if anybody else has mentioned this to you guys or you've read about it on the blogs. I have not heard anybody else talk about it. But as close as Forrest and Eric were, I found it really interesting that he never mentioned selling Sloane's paintings. And when I searched New Mexico for the first 4.5 years, one of the reasons I thought it could be New Mexico was because of his friendship with Eric. Mm-hmm. So now, I mean, his lack of discussing Eric is another reason, like, well, maybe it probably has nothing to do with Eric, regardless of where it's actually hidden. But I did actually notice that this time around, that he never once mentions Eric Sloane.
I mean, considering that he mentions him several times in The Thrill of the Chase and even wrote a book that is effectively dedicated to Eric Sloane, and even cited the reason for him doing this at age 80 was because of, that's interesting. I hadn't noticed it till you mentioned it. I'll go back and take a look.
But one other thing. So anybody who's watched the Cody video knows he was doing this they were like filming him for like posterity's sake or whatever, just for that museum.
Right.
Part of what Forrest talked about in the video are some of the paintings that he donated to the Cody Museum, the Buffalo Bill Museum. And maybe he never mentioned Sloane. Maybe he never donated any Eric Sloane paintings to the museum. Therefore, there's no point in Forrest talking about Eric since there were no paintings at the museum. Yeah. So it could be that too.
I think it was that Sloane was not considered one of the traditional Western artists.
And that's right. Also true.
As opposed to some of the others that were, the Remingtons and the who's the other, the TP Smoke, I forgot his name. Sharp, yeah. I mean, those are classic Western painters, which I think could have been recognized. Sloane was, more of a, what did he call himself? He had a name for himself, itinerant painter. And that was Sloane's description of himself. So I wanted to ask, one of the, and I don't know how you feel about the spiritual nature of all of this, of the search and the connection, but one of the things that I feel when I'm in an area is this kind of like, this is possible. I don't want to say it's my spiritual connection to Fenn because I think that would be offensive to both of us, but I always feel like there's something here, there's an energy here. And I wondered, do you have a sense of that in either the Yellowstone area, and I'm not just going to say Yellowstone Park, the areas that you've searched, and now Cody? Do you feel that kind of spiritual connection with where Fenn was and the walking in his footsteps kind of sense?
Actually, no, not yet for Cody, since I haven't actually searched that area. And there again, Cody's sort of lies in the foothills
Right.
of the mountains, and there's not really many trees actually in Cody or in the hills around
Right.
Cody. I believe it is over 5,000 feet barely, so it would meet the criteria. For me, you either have to go west of Cody or northwest of Cody to actually get into the mountains to make it a viable search spot for myself. So regarding the spiritual part, not there. But the place I definitely felt it was when I was at Fishing Bridge, and then the Indian Pond feature that I loved so much, and I about had a heart attack when I first discovered it. That area, I definitely felt a sense or a connection to Forrest. But you know, when I'm in West Yellowstone, and even when I was like around Hebgen and the Madison, downstream from the lake, I did not feel it there. But if I'm at Baker's Hole or even Barnes Hole, I feel it more there, because we all know Fenn spent so much time right in that area. I mean, that's real close to the town of West Yellowstone, so he could just walk across Boundary Street into the woods where Dale's geocache is, and go to the Madison River from there. So, but Yellowstone, not well. Ojo Caliente as well, because we know he spent time there. So Ojo Caliente, definitely a sense or a spiritual connection, and Fishing Bridge. Those were, I think, about the only two places that I agree with what you're talking about that I felt.
So after he, do you have another question before I go on?
I have one, but it's general, so whenever.
All right, let me just do this one real quick, and I'll turn it back over to you. So one of the pieces of research that we did is kind of building a timeline for him. And part of that timeline was the period after his, and it was stimulated by his comment at Moby Dickens, where he said it was 15 years between the time I got sick and the time I hid the treasure. So 2003 became a great deal of interest to us. But 2003 was notorious for a variety of reasons, including that's the period that he decided to sell his plane, but not before he describes the trip that he made to Cody, this 4-day trip between Santa Fe and Cody that he describes in The Thrill of the Chase, where he stops in Lander. And we concluded that was the point at which he agreed to become a member of the board of the Cody Museum. And we think it was after 2003, although he had visited the area prior to that on a regular basis. We think that it was after 2003 where he was making those 4 trips up there every year, all the way through the point at which he resigned for the board and became a member of the board emeritus. And I think that was around 2011 or 12. So I think that's very much in line with what you were talking about when it comes to the amount of time that he spent up there in that period between 2003 and 2010. And it is reflected in the conversation with in the interview, in the 2006 interview.
Right.
That wasn't a question.
Well, it wasn't. It was a statement. But I needed to get that. I could say, what do you think about
No,
that?
thoughts?
Thoughts? No, we don't do thoughts. Okay. Sorry. Okay, you can ask your question.
Okay. So for Cynthia, on average, when you say you didn't have time for a search, what for you constitutes a search? And I'm talking about length of time, area covered. What constitutes a search for you?
So when I was there this last trip, one of the things I wanted to do was actually go into the park again. And it was I actually had a real search with real solutions to the poem, and I wrote about it on the blog. It is Iron Springs, or Iron Hot Springs, or Warm Springs, or whatever it's called. It's right along the Gibbon River. It's real close to the road. And it was a place that Jesse, the Marine, and I had just touched on in like Memorial Day. Only at the time, we actually went way back through Secret Valley Creek to the source of the water there. And there's also a Secret Valley Hot Springs back there. After Jesse and I did that, we determined, no, that would have been too far. I think it would have been more than a mile each direction. So after we found that out, we pretty much crossed it off. However, I like the idea of still just going to the hot spring that was right along the Gibbon River and using that as the WWH, the Gibbon River, which is right there as the canyon down, and then Secret Valley Creek. I mean, everything's right there, and I like all my 9 clues to be close together. So that is what I actually consider a real search. And that was probably about half a day there, not driving, half a day or at least several hours after I actually parked and did boots on the ground.
You know,
And then
I'm sorry.
that versus some of the other things that I talk about, which are sort of more of a recon. I called, I guess, different varieties of my searches recon. So sometimes the recon is, it's my first time to an area, I've never seen it, but I want to see if it's fenny. And that was the Chief Joseph Scenic Byway. And I got to see Clark's Fork of the Yellowstone River, I think, which flows through the Shoshone along, this is the Shoshone National Forest, I believe. So anyway, so I got to see that. I didn't have any, I had no warm water. I mean, I had no clues. I just needed to see that. That's like the reconnaissance trip because I just need to see if it's fenny and worth trying to solve for.
Right.
Then other things like the Sentinel Creek, Sentinel Meadows, a backcountry campsite called OG1. There were enough things that I could associate with the area to have some vague solutions to that. I also need to do those, but they weren't the really, really good solves. So I really did like Iron Springs because I actually had solutions to the clues, even though it was still probably too close to too many people and it's inside Yellowstone.
So we know that you spent a great deal of time searching in New Mexico.
Yes.
We know how you came to those conclusions, and we know that this summer especially you've migrated away from New Mexico and towards the Yellowstone area, and I'll just, Cody to Hebgen Lake, right?
Yes.
In our survey questionnaire, we always ask the question, in which state do you believe Fenn hid the treasure? So I'm going to ask you, in which state do you believe Fenn hid the treasure and why?
Well, today, I would say that I still believe that it is in Wyoming. I actually I'm trying to make myself get outside of Yellowstone National Park. And of course, most of Yellowstone is in Wyoming. I agree with you guys and many people who think it would just be too difficult to, if someone really does get lucky and they find it, I think it could be real difficult to claim it or whatever happens afterwards. But a lot of Wyoming, and there again, if you go between Cody and the park boundary, I believe that's close to 50 miles maybe in there. And then if you go even northwest and go to the Silvergate, it's more like 75 miles, I think. So there's still a lot of forest in there that I actually believe it will be my predominant area to try to match the clues in the poem to places on the map. So today I'm going to say Wyoming.
One of the, when you and Dale were invited to participate in that Nightline interview, that Nightline segment that appeared back in January, you guys were up there and you promised to take the crew on a search, and Dale said one thing and then the following day you were someplace else, and I was trying to remember where it was. What I wanted to ask you was how much of what you did for that crew on that day was actually a certified good theory versus we just need to keep these camera guys busy.
Right. No, that's a good question. So actually, I had never been up there before, so I really knew nothing. Dale knew the area very well, and it was an actual search of his, but I think he had already done it before. It was not totally new to him. As far as going, I'm not sure where he put in along Grayling Creek before, but I do believe that Dale had searched somewhere along Grayling Creek. Now, we went to the west of Highway 191. We parked right along the road, and then we just sort of walked down over the bank and then back through a meadow to get to the creek. So it was legit for me. I mean, it was totally new to me. It was the first time I ever saw it. Dale, I know he has searched Grayling before, but I'm not sure if it was that exact spot or either downstream or the other side of the highway from there. So for Dale, it was legit, and for me, I didn't know.
Yeah.
But Dale actually had. I mean, he actually had. I don't think it made the show, but when they were at our campsite the night before, and a little bit of that is in the show. Dale told them then he gave them our solutions to the clues and why it was a legitimate solve. I'm just not sure that actually made the cut that was on TV.
My favorite part of that video was the point at which you and or Dale is pointing to something in the book, and the camera is pointed at the book, and there's a handwritten sentence that says the keyword is, and then there's a piece of production tape over the keyword. I thought that was fun.
Right. Yes, that was my book.
Oh, it was.
Or that is my book, and I actually had under that piece of blue tape is the word that I thought was key, at least at the time. So, and I didn't want to share that. We pretty much told the crew what they could show, and I did not want to reveal my word at the time, so I just covered it with tape. And we gave them permission to do that, to show that.
That was very nice. Very kind of you. You did a great job with them. I'm sure that's not the first or the last time that you've done that, and we expect to see you on more of those. By the way, I do want to mention, before I go to your next question, excuse me, I do want to mention that this morning, Shelley and I got an email from a documentary maker in the UK. He's going to be here, I think he said, in September. He's doing a documentary on the search community, and he gave us his email address and asked that if you were interested in speaking with him, or at least starting the conversation, that you send him an email, indicate your interest. I can't remember it right now, but I'll make sure that we put that email address in the description box below. So if you have any interest in communicating with this documentary maker from the UK, you can send him an email to that address. So,
okay.
Questions?
So, no.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't want
I was
you
going to
make
ask if she dug any holes, but I know she didn't.
No,
no,
absolutely not.
No.
I did not dig.
Okay, so we're at the 30 mark, so I think we can go into the chat room and see what people are talking about, unless you have anything else you want to add.
I do not.
Okay, and why the Packers t-shirt? I've never seen you wear a Packers t-shirt before.
Because I love Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, is that it? Is that a recent affectation, or have you always been a Packers fan?
Not always a Packers fan. Well, I have several teams, so the Packers were often like number 2 or 3 on my list.
Okay, but with the evolution of Aaron Rodgers, they've now...
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, we're going to the chat room, and we'll stay on this screen. I do have to do a quick promo here. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, if you're in the chat room and you want to contribute to the project we know of as Gypsy Kiss YouTube channel, you can always use the Super Chat button at the bottom of your screen and make a donation. The advantage to that is, aside from us getting a donation, is that your question will be highlighted and moved immediately to the top of the queue, and we promise to answer all of those questions. Now, we're only going on to the hour today, so try and get your question in. Any question that isn't answered today is not because we're intentionally ignoring it, it's just that we didn't get to it. But if you don't get your question answered and you feel like it's an important question for you, put it in the comments box below, and both Cynthia and I will review the comments and answer your questions, okay? So back to our full screen, and I will show you chat.
All right.
All right. So Cynthia, bear with us. You can't see any of this, unfortunately, but we'll start passing on these questions to you as they come along.
All right. Well, let's say hello to everybody in the room. Today we have Jimmy Fast, one of our moderators, Tammy Mattis, Mark Connor, Adam Foddy's here from the UK.
Hey, Adam.
Journeyman, Rick Plank from Cincinnati, 23 Monarcha, Cindy Guess, Joel Lewicki, another moderator. JL is here, Eric Schmidt, another moderator. Mitzi Moore. And Charlie Fuchs is here from St. Louis. Dave Erickson. Joel says he has to go to a meeting because he's got a real job, unlike us lazy people who just do YouTube all day.
I mean, he's an attorney, for God's sakes. We'll cut him some slack.
Mitzi says she wants you to keep Toby hungover so he can't go out searching.
No. It wasn't actually a hangover as much as it was the sugar just affects me like a tornado. I don't know how else to describe it.
Brent from Texas is here. Blaze Gazer's back. Here to keep the chat room unsafe. On-time moderator. Uh-oh. Look out. Jimmy Fast and you going to have a shootout.
We'll give you one chance there, and then you're gone.
Jackie Naden from England.
Hi, Jackie.
Sean Martinez from Clovis.
From Clovis, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Shane McLaughlin from Florida, where it's 98 degrees and humid, probably. Yeah. Not comfortable. Tom Walker and William Ortiz.
Do you know Tom?
Yes.
Yes. And Debbie Teal. All right.
So Mitzi sends kisses to Molly.
Oh.
Okay.
Doggy kisses.
I don't know where Molly is. Lay down, laying around somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. Okay.
Yep.
Scrolling up to Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Yeah. I like that her name is Debbie Teal and the picture color is also teal.
Yeah.
That worked out. Shane says, has anybody been able to associate Buster Brown with the Thrill of the Chase book itself?
Is that a question for us or just the room?
Everybody, I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, let's leave it at that. Have you maybe been able to make an association between Buster Brown and the Thrill of the Chase, Cynthia?
I have not tried, so that's a no.
That's kind of where we're at. We haven't actually tried.
Steve Smitherman from Alabama, David Dow, Matt.
J-Ra. Hi, Jeanette.
Julie Smith, Belva Jenkins, Unknown Searcher. Goodness, Sean Martinez has a question. Cynthia, have you completely given up on New Mexico? If so, why? And how many total searches did you make in New Mexico and when? That's
Big
a long
question.
one.
I have not totally given up on New Mexico. If I could find a new place where there's warm water, I definitely would see if I could find out solutions to more of the poem for that spot. Right now, that's the problem with me searching New Mexico anymore. I searched it for 4.5 years, probably over 100 searches, probably 75 different places. And I just do not have any other areas that I can come up with a warm water. So that's the one good thing about going up to the Montana, Wyoming, Yellowstone area, and even down like into the Wind River Range or Thermopolis and other areas of Wyoming. There is a lot of geothermal activity or features there. And so that is one of the reasons I really did go to Yellowstone, because I have warm water, and I know you have to have that to find the treasure, according to Forrest.
High Plains Drifter.
Did that answer his
I believe it
question?
did, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
High Plains Drifter is here from Oklahoma. Brian Eagle,
Hey,
another
Brian.
one of our moderators.
How are you doing?
Unknown Searchers asking, what time of year did Forrest take leave?
I guess that means you take leave from the military.
Right.
No idea. I'd guess we could only guess summer. Unknown Searcher, simply because that would give him the opportunity to do apparently what he enjoyed, and that was return to Yellowstone. Yellowstone in the winter is not very, very interesting at all.
It's cold.
The
A Kentucky man, Alan Kay, says hello. Ramblin' Pam is here.
Hey, Pam. Hi, and I don't know whether you got my email this morning, but you're on the panel for Wednesday night. So just wanted to let you know that. And by the way, your latest videos are just amazing. They're just beautiful. Thank you for sharing those with us.
And Matt says, to Cynthia, wasn't Sloan already well established, and the question was those that Fenn developed? So he was talking about artists that he had developed.
No, I do not think so. Isn't the story about $17 a square inch? Doesn't that refer to
Sloan's
the cost of the paintings?
Yeah.
And didn't Fenn create the marketing or whatever for Sloan to actually increase the price of Sloan's paintings?
Yeah,
I don't think Sloan was established before Forrest started selling his paintings and actually having the well, what can anybody read what's on my wall? That was actually, that poster is actually one of many copies of the advertisements for a showing of Sloan's paintings, I believe at Fenn's gallery, way back whenever that would have been. So I actually think that Forrest, I might be wrong about this, but I thought Forrest sort of is the one that created the
market,
the beginning of it, and then I'm sure that maybe they may have gone up in price way after Fenn got rid of the gallery. I don't know that, but I thought Fenn sort of created him and made him a name.
I think Sloan's recognition was as an author, and the sketches that he put in his books, on weather and bushcraft and things like that. So I think you may be very close to right in the sense that Fenn may have created the market for Sloan, and it grew progressively from the $17 a square inch to, I think Fenn mentions at one point it was like $52 a square inch as the market developed for Sloan. So
right.
Cindy Guess has a question for Cynthia. What would you guess his personal reason may be for removing from his autobiography why his special place is special to him?
I have no idea, but boy, I'd like to know. I think that is just anyone's guess. I don't know that he has ever, I have never read on the blogs or anything that there are specific quotes from Forrest that reveals that. I mean, maybe someone else knows of something. I don't know of any quotes that we can even try to guess what it was, and I have no idea.
We're actually covering.
But I'd like to know.
Yeah, we're actually covering that territory in tomorrow night's panel, because the question that we're trying to develop a response to is if you can't stumble over the treasure chest, as Fenn once said. That's not a precise quote, by the way.
Yes.
Then how did he find his special place? And that leads to kind of some quotes about his special place. And the only quotes I could find about his special place were that it was a place that was special to him. He doesn't go any place beyond that to describe it. But the question for me, as Shelley and I were talking about this, was actually was Shelley's question was, how did he find a special place? If we can't trip over the treasure, and if the treasure is in a special place, how did he find his special place? So we're going to cover that territory in tomorrow night's panel. So make sure you stay tuned for that, or tune in for that, rather.
I'm at the bottom.
You are at the bottom. I thought Mincy had a question. Oh, it's just for the... that's for the... It's not for us. Okay, scrolling down. Eric? Okay.
All right. Lori James says, Cynthia, you got to do Beartooth Pass over and down to Red Lodge. It's worth it.
Yeah.
Yes, and I really wanted to do that. I was just going to do a real big loop today that I did the Chief Joseph Byway, and I decided I wanted to go over to the what's the Bighorn Recreation National Recreation Area. I wanted to go there, so I left Silvergate and drove all the way back through Cody, got my email and whatever, and then I went northeast from Cody to the Bighorn area because I wanted to see that. So I had to give up the loop drive that I was going to do, but next time.
So the Bighorn area.
I've heard about the Beartooth Highway, and I definitely want to do that.
So the Bighorn area has always struck me as more open spaces, dry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it was not fenny at all.
Yeah.
I mean, there was barely a tree there. It's pretty in its own way.
Yeah.
It's rugged.
Yeah.
But I don't see it as fenny because there were no trees.
By the way, we have a letter to Merriam-Webster's to have fenny included in the next edition of their dictionary.
It should be in there.
Yeah.
And also, they need to change the word solved. You should send this in too.
Oh, it's a
They
verb.
need to make it a noun. So I believe the word solve is actually a verb, right? But Fenn
Solve
has
is a
made
verb,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Right. But Fenn and all of us have made it a noun. So ask the dictionary people to change that.
I'm sure I can convince them of that as
what
well.
was the scientist that wrote
Oh,
to us?
yeah, we got
She said
to-
it shouldn't be even.
We
It
got a
shouldn't be
comment
either one of those.
from a person who is a scientist, and her position on the matter was it's not a solution, it's not a solve, it's a theory. And it makes her crazy when we use either of those. So we're
Yeah,
going
well.
to start using theory. Okay, where
Good
are you?
luck with that.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can only do it on our channel, and it's not going to change anybody's use of it, I'm sure.
So Dak is here from Michigan.
Hey, Dak.
Michael Cohen from North Carolina. And I'm reading down.
Julie Smith says, "Hey, Forrest, just in case." Yeah.
Hi, Forrest.
You know what? He's far more likely to watch any of our videos on which Cynthia is a guest than any of the other videos. So yeah, there's a good chance you can say.
I actually emailed Forrest and I told him that I moved to the kitchen and I want him to watch this, whether it's live or later, to critique my lighting and give me some feedback. So I'll let you guys know if he
Good. Yeah.
gives me any feedback.
He should not be complaining. This is great lighting. It's great
well,
lighting
thank you.
right now.
Thank you.
All right.
Very
so
even, very flat. Going down.
I have a question from Matt. And I'm not quite sure what this means, but I'm going to read it out loud and maybe you'll figure it out. What do you think is the biggest hurdle between throwing a dart at a map and picking a where warm waters halt?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Yeah, well, for anybody, but yeah, let's start with
Cynthia,
you.
actually.
So the question is, what's the difference between
What
throwing
is
a dart at a map?
it was
and
actually
throwing
a
it
little
water?
bit more subtle than that. What
The biggest hurdle.
The biggest hurdle.
What do you think is the biggest hurdle between throwing a dart at a map and picking a warm waters halt, assuming that the dart is being thrown for the purpose of identifying your warm waters halt? What's the biggest hurdle?
Well, for me, is I can't throw darts. It would likely land on the floor.
Or Molly?
But assuming, yeah, I'd stick Molly. No, I don't think throwing a dart at a map is worthless. 350,000 of us have done this in the last 8 years. I mean, not really. But if you don't have, if you don't have a warm waters and a halt and a canyon, at least those two things, I agree with Fenn. You're not wasting your money. I never go thinking I'm going to find it, so I go knowing I'm going to have some kind of an adventure, and it's going to be something that I will never forget. So I really go for the scenery, I guess. I could not even look for the chests and just go hike.
I think it's soothing to go thinking, yes, I am spending some money, but I'm also going to get a vacation. I'm going to see areas that I haven't seen before. I'm going to get some fresh air and exercise. And then if I happen to stumble over a treasure, so much the better. That's kind of our position on the matter.
I'm at the bottom.
Okay, moving up for you.
All right.
It jumped on me.
This one from Sean Martinez for Cynthia. What year or years did you begin searching in New Mexico and when did you stop?
I started searching in New Mexico March of 2013, and I stopped. My last real search was the Boston Acres area in the Red River area, and that was May of 2017. So I have not done any searches in New Mexico after February 2017, which was like the end of May, early June, I think. From that February on, so May, June 2017, I have not done any more searches in New Mexico.
Wait, from May 2000 and, did you say 2013?
17.
17.
I'm
okay.
sorry, 17.
Whoa.
That was my last one.
Yeah.
EC Does It Good wants to know, does the location of the treasure chest have to have pinon pines?
Have to. What do you think?
I say no.
Yeah, I say no.
And Anthony Estrada is here from Cincinnati. Sean Martinez, Cynthia, have you ever considered that you could possibly be the she? Fenn mentions as being one of the ones who came close to the treasure at Moby Dickens in 2013.
I'm definitely not the she because I had not searched. So I started my searches in early 2013. I believe that video was in the fall. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The video was September, October.
Right.
I had not corresponded with Fenn at all, I don't think, during that time frame. So it was definitely not me. I wish it was, but I'm positive it was not.
Sean, based on the comment at Moby Dickens and just prior to that, a similar comment at Collected Works, both of which you can find on our YouTube channel, it is our impression, and for most of the people that know where they both were at that stage in the search, most people think he was referring to Stephanie 30acre, who runs Chase Chat.
Steve says, do you think the special place was told to him by Grandma?
I have no idea. That would be one of those questions that Fenn would answer. Grandma was not I don't know how you could make that connection. I don't know if it's possible to make that connection. There's nothing in the research, in the body of research, that would indicate that that's how he found it. Is it possible? Anything is possible.
I'm at the bottom.
Did you get this one here?
Yep. It's a repeat.
Oh, okay. All right, scrolling down. Let me see what I can do without jumping up. Okay, that's the end right there. Cherry
wants to know, in your theory, where do lots of people 500 feet come in?
The lots of people to us are people that are moving along a general public thoroughfare. That could be a highway, a train, a track, a commonly used trail, etc., etc. And we think that's why he's made the distinction between, quote, people, unquote, who have been within 500 feet, and searchers, or quote, searchers, unquote, who have been within 200 feet. Now, obviously, if searchers have been within 200 feet, they've also been within 500 feet. But in the research, whenever he talks about 500 feet, he always refers to people rather than searchers. And so we think that 500-foot comment is related to a thoroughfare of some kind. You know, what's that road that goes right through the heart of Yellowstone?
There's the Grand Loop Road. Yeah. Sort of does a figure 8.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Toby, that I agree with what you're saying, but I also think it could be within 500 feet of a popular fishing creek or stream. I agree that it's something that a lot of outdoor recreationists might use.
Yeah.
Definitely a hiking trail, or the parking lot to a trailhead, or a little parking area for a place to for fishermen to park and get down to a stream as well. Yeah,
as an example, was that Cherry? As an example, Cherry, our current solution uses a commonly used railroad track as our 500-foot marker.
Alan K. wants to know, Cynthia, how often do you meet with Fenn in person, and what does he like to talk about unrelated to the chase?
Well, I don't know. I see him every now and then, meet for lunch or whatever. And he likes to tell stories. Seldom do we actually talk about the search, the poem, the book, or whatever like that. He likes to tell stories about whether or not it was when he had his gallery, or Fenn knows I love the movie stars and like Cher or whatever who have stayed in his guest house. So any kind of story that he has that relates to either celebrities, and because I'm old and my parents are actually Fenn's age, so I know he actually can talk about the old stars who have signed his book, which I have seen the signatures, and he knows that I actually know. I don't know them, but I mean I know the names, so he can talk about the old people, and I actually know who he's talking about. So that is one thing, and then and I love the stories, anything about Eric Sloan, and sometimes he'll talk, about John Connolly, who he was a friend with, and they used to fly around and I think get paintings or whatever. So a lot of it, anything that's really related to the gallery days, I really like, or his military stories. You can't beat those.
John Connolly, former governor of Texas, that was with JFK the day he was shot.
Yes.
Wow, didn't know that. Where are you?
Cherry wants to know, Cynthia, do you search by yourself?
I search by myself 99.99% of the time. It's actually what I prefer. However, there are a few exceptions. One of them, I just met the first day and a half of my last trip up there to West Yellowstone. I actually searched with a searcher named Faith. She's from New York State. She was in West Yellowstone. I had met her at the function at the junction. She and I are the same age and had a lot of things in common. And I had agreed that I would spend a day with her in her area. She's deathly afraid of grizzly bears, which is actually sort of funny, unless you're her, and then it's not.
Right.
But she wanted to go hike a canyon, and it was really a good idea for her not to go there alone. Bears or not, it would have been a bad idea. I went with her to do that. There's a Marine, an ex-Marine, or a retired Marine guy. He's coming out here in 2 weeks. He's bringing 3 of his Marine buddies with him. That's the Jesse I actually searched with in Secret Valley Creek in Yellowstone over Memorial Day. He's coming back with some of his buddies. I'm going to see them. I'm not going to search with them this time, but I don't know what it was about him, but he and I disconnected. We connected online, exchanged emails for a couple months, and then we did a search together. That is the exception, because generally I don't like to do that. And I think one of the reasons I agreed with Jesse is I knew I was going to go back into an area that could be dangerous in Yellowstone. It was fairly remote, and I really was afraid to do that by myself. And having him be with me, it's like, who the hell isn't going to go with an ex-Marine, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
and he was a sweetheart, so that was great. But normally I search alone.
So, Cherry, I did all my searches prior to 2017 alone, except for one with my son. Since 2017, I've been with Shelley, and most of the time with her, Shelley and her husband.
Eric Schmidt wants to know, Cynthia, do you believe the special place is special to Forrest and Forrest alone?
I do. So I think there's got to be a sentimental connection to this place and Forrest. Whenever he describes it, he uses the word special, dear, and fond of. I think the words dear to him and a place that he is fond of, I think that indicates it has to be something that has a sentimental connection to him. And one of the things that I'm thinking about myself when I'm searching up in Yellowstone or the Cody area, I am looking for a place that is just so beautiful to me. I think that might be where one of the mistakes we are making. For it to be special to him, I don't think it has to be that scenic and that beautiful. I don't think it's going to be an outhouse or something that's not somewhat attractive. But I think, my special place to me is going to be, I love places that are just so scenic and serene and quiet. And I think his place is going to be quiet. I think it's going to have trees or be in a forest. He talks so much about water in the poem. I think there's got to be water somewhere in your solutions to the clues.
At least within earshot.
Yeah, but and the other thing about water, he seems to love running water because, you know, he talked about the waterfall in the book, and he has a pond in his yard with a waterfall. And for the people who have actually been to his home and have sat on his back porch, so he created that to live in that spot. I think the special place that he has, whatever state it is, and I have no idea what state it is in, I think it will be something like that, and I don't know if it'll be on a grander scale or a smaller scale than his yard, but I think there is going to be trees, which his backyard is a lot of trees. It's going to be some kind of a water feature or a waterfall, or just the sound maybe of a creek or stream, and I think it will be quiet. Because I've been to places that are beautiful, and it's like you're so close to the road, even though you can't see the traffic, you can hear it. And if I can hear the traffic, I cross it off.
Yeah. That's interesting. So maybe one should do, the next time you go to visit him, go in that backyard, sit in that chair that he sits in the porch, and just pull out your camera and take a bunch of pictures. So there must be some connection between his special place and how he finds himself relaxing at his home.
And I just want everyone to know, that's my own opinion. Fenn has never said anything to me.
We
think that. I want to be clear. This is just my own feeling. He's never said this.
There is a disclaimer on the front of this video that says these are our opinions. I'm going to read Unknown Searcher.
Okay.
AGK, do you both plan to do a search in the future up to the Montana or Wyoming area? I think the state that we're at, Unknown Searcher, is we are in New Mexico. We've been to Colorado. We've been to Wyoming, but south of Yellowstone in the Lander area, the Six Canyon area. I think at this point it would behoove us, at least for one of us, probably me, to make a scouting trip of some sort up there to get, I don't know how to describe this, but I call it a spiritual sense of the place. And that is, see if there's any connection, see if it strikes me in the same way that our current solution does. So I think it's very likely. I don't know if we can fit it in this year, because between our search schedule and trips out to the East Coast to see daughters and sons, I don't know if I can try it, but I think either late in this season before it snows or early in next season, I may just have to go up there and not recon the area, but we use the word scout. Just get a sense, take some pictures, visit the Cody Museum, drive through Yellowstone, things like that, just to get a sense of it. So,
okay, all you viewers, I want you to know, I'm convincing Toby he's going north.
It doesn't take much. Every time we
talk to you, actually.
This is a cycle for him. He'll go from, oh no, it could never be there, to, oh, maybe I should just check it out.
Just check it out. Yeah,
this is a cycle for him.
The problem is that the poem fits all 4 states.
Yeah.
And for the people that search New Mexico, I totally understand, and the other states too. I just don't have enough information about Colorado to have solutions there. But so for myself, I've looked so much New Mexico, Wyoming, Montana, that you can go to any of those places or not go to any and find all the places that Toby loves, that I have loved in the past, and that maybe he will see in the future.
Yeah.
I don't think if you don't solve the poem, I don't think any of us can find it.
And if for no other reason, I'm 69 years old. I know as a youth, with my family, we visited that area, but I have no memory of it. So if nothing else, I feel like I've earned at least a trip up there just to visit. I don't want to die and have on my tombstone, "Here lies Toby Eunice, who never visited Yellowstone."
You think they'd write that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I think so either.
Where are we? We're at 2:00.
I think, Cindy Guest wants to bring up the whole, do you believe his quote. If I was standing where the treasure chest is, I'd see trees, I'd smell wonderful smells of pine needles or pinon nuts and sagebrush.
I think Eric can probably, Cindy, I think Eric can probably write the correction to that. I think soon after saying that, and he says it in the New Mexico True video, he retracted that. I don't know how soon it was, but he did retract the pinon nuts part of that. So I can't cite it for you, but maybe Eric can, because Eric has all that stuff in his head.
He does.
Joe Treasure Hunter, and I know where it is, and I can prove it 100%.
Marvel Gazer
Wow.
says, did Fenn say the chest will not be visible from satellite, or just that normal Google Earth resolution does not allow it to be seen?
The latter. I know he has said that you can't see the treasure chest with Google Earth. That's not an exact quote. That's a. That's
I think he said Google Earth doesn't go down
far
that
enough.
far.
Yeah. Now that doesn't mean that someday it
Whatever
won't.
that means.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cryptic in itself.
I'm at the bottom.
Okay, I think let's. Oh gosh, I got a bunch of other questions. So you're at Anthony Estrada for.
Cynthia, what year do you believe Forrest hid the chest, and why?
I believe he hit it in June or July 2010. And why has been covered so many times, I don't even want to go into it again.
From Sean Martinez, Cynthia, how many warm waters halt locations have you identified in New Mexico that you have checked? Does it coincide with your number of searches or multiple searches for the same one? Wow. Let's
no.
yeah. How many warm water locations have you identified in New Mexico?
I have been to every warm water or hot spring that you could actually get into that I could find north of Santa Fe. A lot of those were on the Rio Grande. So since then, he has ruled out the Rio Grande. So like Black Rock Hot Spring, which is at the John Dunn Bridge, Manby, which is in the Taos area. Those two were huge search areas early on. And then was it 2017?
Yeah.
Yeah, just last summer after Eric died.
Right.
That's when Fenn came out with some more of the safety stuff, and he rolled out the Rio Grande.
Right.
So he took away those. Ponce de Leon is just south of Taos, and that's sort of up in the hills. I've done that. Montezuma's in Las Vegas. That's actually south of Santa Fe, even though you would think it's north, but if you look on the map, it is not. I've done every hot spring I can find in the Jemez Mountains, of which there are, I can think of two right off the top of my head that are real popular and easy to get to. So what did I just say? About 6 or 7?
6 or 7, 8 maybe.
Out in New Mexico that I have done, and I have searched, with the exception of Ponce, which I did not like the area. Plus now that's actually on Taos Reservation land, I think. I have been to like Spence. Oh my God, I don't know how many times I've been to that area. Same with San Antonio. So for myself, I thought I searched the area enough that I crossed them off.
Are you the
I'm
one?
not sure if that answered it, but
Are you the one that told me? I'm trying to remember. I think it was you that after Fenn crossed off the Rio Grande, said it's not in the Rio Grande. You said something like, "Well, you could have told me 5 years ago," or something like that. It was.
Well, I did spend probably a good year.
Yeah.
I basically have searched the banks of the Rio Grande from up in the Cuesta area and above Cuesta in the wild rivers where Big Arsenic and those hot springs are. Sporadically, all the way from there, all the way down to the Orilla Verde area at Pilar.
Yeah, we didn't go quite that far north.
And it hasn't been just me. I know Dale had searched a lot of the Rio Grande area. So, and then, but I didn't. I hope I didn't ever use that he wasted my time, because I fell in love with the gorge area, and it was, even though it's not that far from civilization. When you're down in that canyon, especially up around Cuesta and north of there. I never saw another person there. I mean, it was me down in this rugged gorge, and I loved it. It was a little scary as far as animals, maybe.
Right.
But talk about remote, but not really remote. And it was a sense of adventure.
Yeah, the Oria Verde right there above Pilar is one of my favorite fishing and
Yes.
camping spots.
Yeah.
I go there a lot for
and
that.
yeah, and I've searched that area many searches.
Okay, so we've hit the, we're actually gone over our hour. So, Cynthia, I'm very grateful that you take the time to come and share your experiences with us every time you do one of these. We look forward to having you back as often as we can with your stories, your advice, your recommendations, because you're so open and honest, and we truly appreciate it. And I'm sure the people who are in our chat room appreciate it as well. And like I said, we look forward to seeing you again soon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You want to cover our rest of the week for us, Shel?
Oh, okay. So thank you for being here today. Tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock, that's Wednesday, August 8th, we'll have a panel show that will be about question to ponder.
Yeah, that's the
Question to
if you
ponder.
if you can't stumble over the treasure chest that Fenn hid, how did he find his special place?
Right, ponder that.
Think about that, and then come into the chat room, because the first thing I'm going to do to the chat room is I'm going to ask you to write down your answer to that question.
Yeah, I think my eyes will be very busy tomorrow as I moderate and produce that chat. And then Thursday, of course, we'll have at 1 o'clock, we'll have our book club. We'll be on chapter 18, Hush Puppies, Blue Jeans and Hush Puppies.
Blue Jeans and Hush Puppies.
Again.
We're through My War for You.
So
for
we're
me.
moving into Santa Fe,
As
out of Vietnam.
Gypsy Kiss said, this means war, Mitchells.
So whatever that means. And then Friday, of course, we'll have It's All About You at 1 o'clock release. And that's number 8. And I hope that you watched last week to learn all about Sasha Johnston.
Yeah, that was a great interview. I really felt good about that.
We got to learn more about her last night because we had
we
a
did.
nice little party at her house.
By the way, we do have to give our thanks to Sasha for hosting us last night, to Christy of the Hint of Riches Forum for providing food and drink, to Cynthia for making what really are, for as bad as they were for Related Lady, the best margaritas I have ever tasted. And
which is why we drank too many.
Which is why we drank too many. We had a great time. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of them for hosting us last night. It really was a good time. I'd like to say thank you to our moderators. We love the work that you do for us, and we're very grateful for it. And we look forward to continuing our relationship with you guys. It makes it a good place to be when you're here. To those of you in the chat room, thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in the events during the remainder of the week, especially tomorrow night's panel session. I think it'll be a real active panel session. We're looking forward to it because I think it's a question that stimulates a lot of interaction. So we look forward to it.
All right.
And to my partner, Shelley Carney, for being the best partner in the world.
And Cynthia won't be on our panel tomorrow because she's taking off on a family trip.
Right.
But we do thank her for being here today, and thank you all as well for being in the room with us. For Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you tomorrow night.